Welcome. You're listening to Ask the Doulas, a podcast where we talk to experts from all over the country about topics related to pregnancy, birth, postpartum, and early parenting. Let's chat.
Hello. This is Kristin Revere with Ask the Doulas, and I am thrilled to bring you Alexandra Francis. Alexandra is the owner and founder of Our Hummingbird and Queen, and she has so much information to share with us related to the postpartum revolution. Welcome, Alexandra.
Thank you for having me.
So happy to have you here. So I'd love to have you fill our audience in about your personal motherhood journey, as well as why you decided to professionally work with women in the childbearing years.
I've given birth to 7 children, and the first 3 children I gave birth to in the hospital. It was a bit of like an antenatal, but I don't feel that it really prepared me for the birth or was going to happen. And I felt very much at the mercy of the midwives and the whole system and how it runs and so on. And after having an unfortunate experience with the first birth, I had a postpartum hemorrhage. Then I was managed the second and third time. So it was really sad for me because I really wanted a water birth, but I didn't get one. And then with the 4th baby, I went to the hospital, and the thing was I had such a terrible experience actually that I left the hospital in labor. And I came home, and a friend of mine said, look, I'll get you a doula, and I'll pay for her, and then you'll be all right. You'll be able to have the baby. And that was the first time I'd ever heard that word doula. And then when I called the doula and told her about my experience, she said, oh yeah, she said, I would honor your birth plan. It's the first time anyone had ever spoken to me like that. I was like, wow. And she said, why aren't you having a home birth? And I was like, home birth? What's that? Like, I'd never been told about a home birth before. And she said, I told her like, oh, well, I was told that I would die. I'm going to bleed to death and I'm going to die and the baby's going to die. So that's why I can't have this baby at home. I have to be in the hospital. And she said, well, contact the community midwives. And I was like, community midwives? Who are they? So they're the midwives that come out to home births. I'd not heard of them at all. And through this experience and finding a like-minded midwife, she honored my birth plan. She really protected me, which meant that my rights were upheld, and the way that I wanted birth, I got to do it. And it was so much more beautiful than the other 3 times that I said, you know what, after this, I'll never go back to hospital again. And so I had my 5th baby at home, and it was a water birth.
Oh, exactly as you wanted. And I do agree, if it's all about no matter where you live, if you don't know your options, you're so limited in your choices. So learning about doulas and home birth and community midwives later on changed your path in the future and for that particular birth.
That's right. And I'm so glad that I did learn about this, because it really did change the course of the future of the way that I birthed. After the 5th time, on the 5th time, I'd even learned about hypnobirthing this time. So I really had the birth down now. At this point, I felt a bit like a pro, And yet all the things that went really beautiful in the birth, they went beautiful because of me and the way that I prepared. And the things that went wrong, they went wrong because of the interference of the midwife. So after that, I was like, do you know what? I'm not going to have a midwife if I ever got pregnant again, which I actually thought that I wouldn't. But with my 6th baby, it was just me and the dad. So we had an unassisted birth. I went to Ecuador and gave birth to my daughter there. And that was the first time I found out about the 40 days postpartum. Have you heard about this before?
Yes, it is, depending on the culture and the tradition, certainly Malaysian, Chinese culture. Yes, they take it very seriously of that warming period, caring for the mother, and it's all about bonding with baby. And then village members, family members all help with the newborn care, household tasks, caring for the sibling in some of the ways a doula does, a postpartum doula, that is, does.
Yes. all of that. And with my other babies, I never had that experience. And in actual fact, I remembered, with the third child, just being so focused on being able to fit into my jeans and get to the supermarket. And I remember pushing the baby in the trolley, and he's newborn, and everyone's looking at the baby like, oh wow, he's so small, he's newborn. And I'm like, yeah. And then they were like, wow, you're such a superwoman. And that was almost the standard that I felt that I had to meet, this superwoman that's back in her jeans and back to doing all the things that moms do. And I really
Right.
felt.
Yes, there's so much pressure, certainly in the US, in the UK, and in other countries. It's all about mothering the mother and taking that time. And family members will fly in and stay for 30 to 40 days and just care for the entire family, but especially the mother.
So yeah, this was just a different experience for me, being in Ecuador and being able to have that time, which I'd never had before. And it slows everything down. I even got to do elimination communication with my baby. So literally from the time she was born, she was potty training and potty trained, and she didn't really need diapers, and she never did a poo in a nappy ever. And it was like just this whole brand new experience for me. And I felt almost kind of robbed, with the last babies and the other experiences. And I really felt it in my system, just how different that was, having the other children in that way and not getting that much needed support and time to just really bond with my baby.
Right.
But
So it sounds like that is what led you to Mama Haven and your work there.
it was actually following the birth of the seventh child. It was because I'd still never experienced a doula. But after the sixth baby, that's when I really started to go to do the work. I started to be with other women and be in birth and witnessing these babies being born and giving the support to the women and holding their rights. And really, what I feel that my role was is really just saying, like, you can. It was hearing the woman, her birth plan, her heart's desire, the way that she wanted to birth and being like, yeah, you can do that. And really, like, I feel that my work is more around helping the mother to really lean into her intuition, to be able to listen to her body and take the cues from her body, to listen to her baby and to follow that and to trust that, and to know, like, if she feels something, that she can ask for help. If she feels that she needs support, she can ask for it, but not to intervene rather, but more to, like, hold that space and allow the birth to unfold in its own time, ever so gently and naturally. And so I got to witness birth in this very beautiful, peaceful, loving way.
Beautiful.
Hey, Alyssa here. I'm just popping in to tell you about our course called Becoming. Becoming a Mother is your guide to a confident pregnancy and birth, all in a convenient 6-week online program. From birth plans to sleep training and everything in between, you'll gain the confidence and skills you need for a smooth transition to motherhood. You'll get live coaching calls with Kristin and myself, a bunch of expert videos, including chiropractic care, pelvic floor physical therapy, mental health experts, breastfeeding, and much more. You'll also get a private Facebook community with other mothers going through this at the same time as you to offer support and encouragement when you need it most. And then, of course, you'll also have direct email access to me and Kristin, in addition to the live coaching calls. If you'd like to learn more about the course, you can email us at info@goldcoastdoulas.com or check it out at thebecomingcourse.com. We'd love to see you there.
So tell us a bit more about Mama Haven.
Okay, so first time I got to experience a doula for myself was after the seventh baby. I was in Bali when I gave birth to him, and the girl, she came from California. Basically, she did like an exchange with me. So she came to learn how to be a postpartum doula by being
Okay.
my doula, and I was training her
Beautiful.
on the job. And that's how it happened. And with having her, it was like another level, because I really got to fully immerse myself in the mother-baby relationship and being in the energy with the baby and just learning all the baby's cues. It's almost similar to like before, you learn like a telepathy with the baby. But I got that through the elimination communication. But this time it was just by being so present, by having all of my needs met. You know, she fed me. I taught her how to massage my body, showed her where aches and pains were. I had a slight labial grace, so I taught her how to treat that and to care for it and how to wrap me and do all these things. And it was just out of this world, really. I just got to look at the baby, be with him. I only had to think about breastfeeding. I didn't have to think about anything else. Like she really had it covered. And it was from this experience, having such a deep immersion with my own baby, that actually, when the end of the 40 days came, I really felt like, oh my word, we'd been in such a protective bubble that I felt almost like the world was such a harsh place for my son, point. And I wasn't ready to break out of the 40 days that I actually ended up having another month, not with a doula, but just me and the baby. And I lived in a house with another woman who'd also just had a baby. So we were both postpartum together. I was a little bit ahead of her. And so we were able to support each other and be there for each other, eat together and things like that. And it was just really beautiful. And through having that experience, I felt like all mummies should be able to have this if they so choose. I mean, a lot of mums don't even know, like you'd said before, they don't even know that it's an option, especially here in the UK. Most of the girls that are going to hospital, even today, their focus is when can I go home? And then it going to the local shopping centre. And I find that so bizarre that that was my experience in 2001. And it's still the mentality in this country today. You know, unless you're, say, from a Muslim family or where the family members come around, like you said, and really get around the woman and support her and hold her in those 40 days. But the culture in Britain, just not there yet. And so there has to be some work done first and foremost to raise the awareness, to allow mummies to know like what can be possible, to help them to see that how beneficial it is for them just to slow it down. And and then in England, there's massive issues around breastfeeding, for example, and women might try, and then if they don't get it as quick as they need to be able to leave hospital, they're almost prompted to give formula, and that's their get out clause. It's like, okay, if I give the child the bottle, then I can get out, can tick that box off. And so it takes time sometimes, doesn't it? You just got to almost like stop and be still and be relaxed and like let it happen. But if you feel stressed and you're trying to think about forcing it to happen, or you think, oh, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with my nipples? What's wrong with my baby? And then kind of can end up a bit of a downward spiral. And that can be impacted a lot by, the stress and whatnot. So first and foremost, to just raise the awareness to let moms know that they can slow down. And so the Mamahaven, really what it's doing is giving moms an opportunity to have a home. In the Mamahaven home, the woman will have care that's wraparound, so she'd have care 24/7, just the way that I did when I was in Bali. And there's women want to train how to become postpartum doulas. So what better way
Okay.
to have the training than to be the mother haven? So the students can be there alongside the mamas, and they can then observe the mamas, they can talk and get to know the mamas, and then see what their needs are, and then understand how to meet their needs as and when they emerge. And then I can be there to offer that supervision and the guidance, but it's more of like it can happen quite organically through building those relationships and really, like I said, slowing everything down and observing. So the plan is to be able to cook and give meals to these women. So the food is very nutrient dense, what the mother may be calling for at that time, but to like build a good supply of breast milk and keep the mum well fed and feeling good and energized.
Right.
Then she can also rest. Then she can have her emotional needs met because we can be there to listen. I found that instrumental actually. That was a huge part of it, just for myself processing my birth and some of the things around, being alone in a foreign country and having other family members around me at that time. I got to just cry about it. She just hold the space and let that happen. And I didn't feel judged or anything. And it was okay. And feelings come up and they go. We don't necessarily have to make more about it. It's just, this is it. This is natural. It's a process. And we just allow for that process to unfold. So this is another big thing that would be like on hand for those mothers. Then the hands-on care, like the massages and the wrapping and things like that, as and where the mother needs. There'd be people on hand to do that right round the clock to provide that care and give that
Love it.
nourishment
So are you
and
doing
whatnot.
the Bangkok method, or what is your preferred wrapping method?
The wrapping method.
Yes, for belly binding and
So I do the belly binding, I do it with massage and a rebozo actually.
yes.
The Mexicans. So I got to learn this ceremony called the closing of the bones. Have
Yes,
you
I
come
learned
across
that
it?
as well. I took a training, Zulu doula training,
Uh-huh.
and learned that method, but I've also been trained in Bengkung belly binding, Malaysian.
Okay, I've not done the Malaysian one. I did the one that you did. And
Okay.
it's so good, isn't it?
It is
To be able to
great.
like hold the woman. Have you had it done to yourself as well?
Yes, during the training. It was
Oh,
amazing.
amazing.
But I was not postpartum, so
Yeah, because when you are postpartum in that area, for me, I mean, I can speak from experience, it feels like vulnerable almost. It almost feels like my body's going, like the top half of my body's going to fall off of the bottom half of my body. It's a really weird sensation. And somehow when you get wrapped, it's like it keeps you together,
it
like
does.
it holds you up.
Agree, because your
Yeah,
organs are going back into place or shifting after you deliver, and it makes complete sense.
yeah.
And again, going from that warm state to a cold state, and the benefits of again warming foods and nutrient dense foods, as you mentioned, and just slowing things down in that care is so important.
I even offer the closing bone ceremonies to women that are not necessarily in their 40 days postpartum. And I've found that they're instrumental for women, like literally at any time in their life. I did one for mother and daughter. They were side by side, and the daughter was 30 something years old. So that mother received her first closing bone ceremony, and the daughter received one. For her, it was closing the dependency between the mother had on her, and
Oh, I
closing
love
that
it.
down, opening her up to be able to receive her own children.
Beautiful.
They're so
Such
powerful.
important work. You are definitely changing the community. So you have one location in the UK, is that correct?
The plan is to get the location. So at the
Okay,
moment, the Mamahaven, it's in its seed stages.
got it.
The idea's there. I've been doing a fundraiser because I identified a property that I want to buy that's perfectly suitable, beautiful in such a quiet space, quiet surroundings to honor the privacy of the woman. It's got 7 bedrooms, beautiful surroundings. And saw this place and I was like, this is perfect to have this Mama Haven here. So I want to establish the first one actually in the UK. And I've been talking to a lot of people that I've been connected to because a lot of my work it's actually been in other places. This will be the first thing that I've actually will do in the UK. Most of my work has been across other continents. But yes, once we've got this one here, there's other women that would want to put them in their areas. So I see like the bigger picture of this is that there'd be a Mama Haven literally all over the world, anywhere
Yes,
and everywhere.
almost like a franchise, but a bit different, their own havens that they would rely on your direction.
Yes,
Beautiful. I am so impressed with the work you're doing and seeing, since you traveled the world, seeing that there's more of a need in the UK. And so starting that first haven there makes complete sense.
there is a
So
huge need here.
fill us in on your funding campaign and how our listeners can connect with you. I'm also curious about how you might handle travelers. Like, what if US citizens want to come during not their immediate postpartum, but later on to get care, for example, once they're able to travel?
Yes. So what I want to do initially is open the one in the UK and have make it available so that actually people can come from anywhere. If they want to birth, if somebody's birthing in the UK, for example, they can be there after the birth and get postpartum care. But the students can come from
Oh,
anywhere in the
lovely.
world. So they can come from the US, and that's why it's great to have it as a residential, so that the student can come, they can be held in the space as well. Then they've got a skill. They can take that back to where they're from, and they can begin by giving that service to women, maybe in their own homes. But maybe there's women there that also want to set up their own Mamahaven. So then I would support them to be able to set the Mamahaven at their place and just take the training there and be on hand to do the training, make sure it's all set up and managed, and then I would move away and let that one run by itself. And that's how I would do it.
Perfect. I love the plan. So, are the donations directed through your primary website, ourhummingbird.com, or how can our listeners or potential students get involved?
Yeah, they can get involved directly through the website. The page is actually being created as we speak. So I hope by the end of this week, the weekend, it should be finished. I have a Just Giving page as well, where people can make donations. So what I'm looking at doing initially is raising like 5,000, because once you raise 5,000, you can open a charity. And then I could become a charity, and then that way I could be open to other types of donations, like bigger donations, and I can apply for funding from places and things like that. Because
Sure.
then what I want to do is create sustainability. So people that want to come but might not be able to afford to pay for something like this, they could still come. Students that want to come, they really have a passion, they have a desire to learn, they could get a scholarship, for example. Also, the mothers that run the Mama Havens, they would have to be residential, so they live on the site. So therefore gives that person the security, and then they are able to run a business. So what they're able to do is create wealth for themselves and their own families, because that's something that I found, because I've been in different parts of the world and I've got my kids, and then I take my kids to different countries and stuff like that. And it's almost like a bit all over the place. But being rooted and being in one place means that actually I can build that wealth, and then that's something that I can pass on to my children. If I do it for me, I can also do it for other people. Whereas when I was doing the work that I was doing, because it was just a service, like I just felt like women should have it regardless of whether they should pay or not. It was almost like a call to humanity, a basic human right. I would just do it. I just did it out of the goodness of my heart. So it was not something that I created a business out of or made anything from. And then I'm like, oh, that was a bit silly, because really what you want to be doing is, if you set yourself up in a business way and you create wealth for yourself and your family, then you're able to share that wealth. So there's an economy where other mothers can come in, and you're giving them a system where they can also create income and wealth for themselves and their families as well. And that's a far better system and a far better blueprint to be doing a business like this than the way that I was doing it before. So I've
Right,
learned a
giving your
lot.
work away for free and
Yeah,
serving people because it's in your heart. But yes,
yeah,
we're able to give back much more substantially if we are receiving income, and our families are able to benefit when we're away if we're again getting
yes,
paid for the work that we do.
that's right.
So, Alexandra, you are also on social media. I know
Mhm.
Our Hummingbird is your primary. It sounds like you might have another page coming up as well.
On the ourhummingbird.com website, the page will go onto there. So if
Okay.
just by having the link, it'll come on side. And I do have an Instagram and things like that, but it's something I've not been so strong in the social media world, because I've been doing the work face to face and hands on. I really didn't have time to build that type of following, and it didn't feel right for me if I'm doing the work and then all of a sudden I have to take out my phone to take pictures to post. It just kind of didn't work. So I never got that bit down. But I'm learning right now, and I'm like, okay, I need to be a bit more active in there as well. So I'm going to do my best to also post and things like that and keep that going. But the best way I feel that people can really keep in touch with me and get involved with Mamahaven and be a part of it, because I think it's quite groundbreaking. It'll be a flagship project. So for people to stay close to that, I'd use the www.ourhummingbird.com website.
Thank you. So any final tips for our listeners, Alexandra?
Final tips, I would say arm yourself with as much information as you can, because knowledge is power, and find yourself doulas and birth workers in your local community. Meet them, get to know them, and the ones that you really gel with, have them help and support you, because having help and support and advocacy and love and care during really a very powerful but also very vulnerable time in your life is, well, there's nothing that really compares to it.
Agreed. Thank you so much. It was lovely to chat with you, and take care.
Thanks for listening to Ask the Doulas. For more information about Gold Coast Doulas, visit us on our website, goldcoastdoulas.com. We're also on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. If you like this podcast, please subscribe and give us a 5-star review. Thank you. Remember, these moments are golden.